I said I wouldn't be posting anything about Charlie Kirk, but everybody is weighing in on that, and that's the dominating conversation on every Facebook page, it seems. So, well, I'm going to give you my angle on Charlie Kirk. I'm trying to give a somewhat unbiased opinion. But of course, I have my preferences as well. And like I said, I didn't know much about him. And since his assassination, tragic assassination, which I do not condone, even though I might be disagreeing with him. In fact, I disagree with his viewpoints very strongly. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I since his passing, I have watched several of his videos, of his interviews, and like I said, I don't think there is really anything I can agree with him on. I find him loud, charismatic, rude, unpolished, narcissistic. By his own admission, he said he doesn't believe in empathy. So the only other option on the scale then is narcissism. I think the reason why a lot of young people were drawn to his appeal is because he comes across as a strong, confident person. And to young people, students, they may not necessarily respond to the things he believes or says, but it's the energy that he portrayed, the non-apologetic, strong spine, having a spine type of bullyish energy. And that is very appealing to young students that don't have a direction in life, and so they respond to his energy, to his leadership quality energy. But like I said, the actual ideologies and beliefs that he shared, they were outrageous, very disturbing, and not beliefs that I share. Now, there's a lot of people out there that feel violated by the things he said, right? Violence does not just come in the form of a gunshot. Violence comes in the energy behind your word. If you speak to people without empathy, without feeling, you can really do some damage, right? Like that saying that goes, sticks and stones might break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's false. Words do hurt. And apparently Charlie's soul has come back and sent a message through a medium here the other day, admitting that a lot of the things that he believed were actually not correct. So his soul is learning, and he said he would be coming back for another lifetime. So, of course, there's always room for a soul to keep expanding and learning from the mistakes that we've made, right? But I want to speak to the fact that a lot of people feel victimized by Charlie Kirk and by his free speech, right? They feel victimized. Let's see if the camera is still going. They feel victimized by his word. They feel hurt. They feel abused by his freedom of expression, right? I don't feel hurt, even though I don't agree. I'll be so brave. I don't agree with anything he stood for. But the reason why I don't feel victimized by his brazen conduct, his brazen words, is because I do not identify with any egoic persona constructs. See, that's the problem with I have to call it out, with being unawakened to your soul, being unawakened to your divine essence. That you're something much greater than a Democrat or a Republican, a black person or a white person. You're so much bigger than that at a soul level. And because I have dissolved and laid down all of these sub-identifiers of political parties, gender, race, I don't get hurt when people speak disparagingly about these identifiers, right? I experience this world now from soul awareness, not from my ego persona awareness. I was a Christian for 35 years, and I was so offended by atheists. I was so offended by people who spoke out against the Bible or God or Christianity, because that was my identity. That is how I identified in this world. And so if you identify as a Democrat or a Republican or a trans or a white person or a colored person, if that's your only identification, yes, then you will be someone's victim in this world, right? But if you awaken to your soul awareness, nothing can touch you there, because you're basically in God consciousness at that level. And you realize that everybody has a soul, and everybody's soul is of that higher consciousness. But because most people are not yet awoken to their soul, they just are woke in ideologies which all fall within the ego realm. They get offended. They get hurt, and justly so. I don't mean they get hurt justly so. I don't mean that they should get hurt. No, they're justified in feeling hurt, in feeling victimized, in feeling abused, right? You're justified in that. If you identify with the ego persona that every human being basically identifies as. How do you think these wars keep on happening? Because humanity is not awakened to their divine spirit state, their soul state, right? A soul is something we all have in common, and the higher consciousness at soul level. But we also have an ego in common, and each ego is out for its own gain and benefit. That's why we have wars. That's why we fight with one another. That's why we hurt each other. That's why we stand up for our causes and don't have any leniency and compassion for other people's causes, right? So We need to awaken to soul so that we get a higher perspective than just what's here, eye to eye, nose to nose, right? And if we stay at the lower ego level, we just keep insulting each other. And this abusiveness can't stop.